and I've been off all week because I've been sick. I'm still a little under the weather, but I hope I can get through all 10 of these because I want to share the 10 pitfalls of outsourcing that I have actually made all these mistakes myself, so I know what can happen and what it can do to your business, because when these things happen and then you're not excited about outsourcing, you tend to not want to outsource. And when you don't outsource, then you can't grow your business because you're spending way too much time in your business doing things that you really shouldn't be doing. So that's what I want to talk about today. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about is, first I want to see if I can see this. Can I see this? I don't know. Okay. So the first one, I once had a VA, and hi Lynn. I once had a VA, and she was working with me for a particular, it was for she had been working for me anyway, but she came on for this telesummit that I was doing at the time. This was years ago. And what ended up happening is that a couple of things happened. One was that she was supposed to get a percentage of the profits, but it was contingent upon her, doing a good job and getting people into this telesummit, and it didn't work out that way. And I had done them. I had made $20,000 on one. I made $16,000 on another, and then this one I lost money on. And she actually tried to sue me, and that you really don't want that to happen. It was really at a bad time because I just found out I was actually quite ill, and I was under a doctor's care, and I had to go to court, and it was a big mess, and it was very stressful. So the good thing was that she lost because she couldn't prove that there were any actual damages, because she was trying to sue me for future profits, and the judge said that you can't do that. So what I would have done differently is I would have done it better in terms of communicating exactly what was expected for the job in order for her to make money off of me doing it. So that was, the main thing that I learned from that. But another thing that I learned from it is that sometimes people can't really communicate when they're unhappy or they're frustrated. And so it really is important on your end to make sure that you're communicating with your vendors, with people that you're outsourcing to, and making sure that you guys are on the same page, and being really explicit about your communications, which is actually number 9, but I'm saying it here now. So that's number 1. And number 2 is I'm telling you stories in order to show what these are, but another one was I had a VA, and she was great, and my clients loved her. She was on top of everything. And then what happened was that it was Christmas time, and I had an emergency, and I asked her for her help, and she blew up at me and told me that I had overstepped the boundaries, and she quit on me. And I was devastated, and I was also blindsided because I didn't know that there was that boundary, because she had never told me that. So what I learned from that is that when you hire somebody, make sure that you ask them what their boundaries are. Make sure that you ask them, are there times when I can't call you? What are the best times to call you? How do you feel about holidays? How do you feel about weekends? I really wish somebody had told me that, because I really hated losing her. And so, that's important. So that was the second one. The third one, and I've done this too, is asking for referrals to become a VA for me, and then somebody coming on and me taking the time to train them, and then they quit because they decide it isn't for them. So what I learned from that is that really, if they came from my list, they really weren't on my list to be a VA. They were on my list to learn to write, and to market books and to grow their businesses, and they were seeing if they could do that as a side job, whereas I was looking for somebody who was serious and wanted that job. And so what you really have to do, and I love this, I learned this from John Asseroff, is that you want somebody who that's fun for them. That's what they love to do. That's what they want to do. And when you find people like that, they're now doing their gifts, and it allows you to do your gifts. You're not worrying about them. They're not worrying about you. Everybody's happy because everybody's doing what they love to do, and there's no misunderstandings about that. And it's a real drag, when you spend time training somebody and then they quit on you. It's not fun. So that's the thing that I learned from that is I don't try to go to my list or ask people, unless it's, or I should say when I do ask people, asking if that's what they love to do, if that's fun for them. Otherwise, forget it. The next one is thinking that you don't have money to outsource, but also outsourcing the wrong things. Okay, that's why you think you don't have money to outsource. So I've done this too, where I've outsourced things that didn't make me money, and that the money that I had to spend on outsourcing at the time could have been better spent on something else that would make me money. So for instance, let's say that you, and I know for me, like LinkedIn, okay, I need to be on LinkedIn, but if there's one thing I really don't like doing, it's spending my time sitting on LinkedIn, just trying to, connect with people. I find that it drains my energy. I love talking to them on the phone once we're connected, but that, the hours of research and all that isn't really what I want to do. So if I'm then, hi Richard, if I'm spending my time, if I'm hiring somebody, let's say that, the first thing that I hire a VA to do is to go onto LinkedIn, somebody who knows how to do that, or a LinkedIn specialist who knows how to do that and spends their time doing that, that's great, because now they're doing what they love to do, and I don't have to do something that's draining my energy. So you want to get your outsourcers to be doing things that make you money, and either directly or, pretty soon indirectly, and then go from there, because once you've got your outsourcing where it's neutral, and I learned that from Jeff Hunter, outsourcing neutral, or I don't remember exactly the term he used, but the point is that, when it makes you more money than it's costing you, then you're going to get excited about your VAs. But if you start out having them do things that just get stuff off your plate, but you're not really, benefiting from it by making more money, then you're feeling like you can't afford to outsource it because you're not making money from it. So that's what you have to do, is you have to look at it as it's making you more money, and then make sure that you outsource on the things first that help you really make more money. So now you can put more and more, money into it so that people can help you more and more. So that's the next one. Okay, now the next one, and this just drives me crazy, and I know I go through this, I have gone through this with Fiverr, and even with some of the people that I've used, and I don't really use them on things where I need to talk to them anymore for this exact reason. So, like if you're using Fiverr, you can only talk to them in email. And so when you're talking to people in email, it goes back and forth and back and forth, and then if they're on the other side of the world, what ends up happening is that you send something over there, and then you got to wait 12 or 24 hours, and then you finally get something back, and then you go back and forth. And I've had things in the past that took weeks that should have taken a day because of this back and forth with the email. So I really don't like it when I have to deal with email. I really want to deal with people whenever I can, where I can talk to them. And the other thing about them being in the other part of the world, which is number 7, is that is because they're different time zones. Sometimes it's even hard to, connect. And as I said, you've got to wait a long time because you're in different time zones. Okay, the next is you don't have systems in place, and so it's chaotic, and that's on you, and I've been there too, where I wanted something done, but I didn't have a system in place for doing it. So one of the things that you really want to do is every time you're creating something new where you could have somebody else do it, you want to write out what it is you're doing and, file that in your for outsourcing guide. And that way, when you are ready to give it to somebody, you can just give them that and say, okay, this is how I want it done. And now you're not constantly having to go back and recreate it, especially if you then are train different people on it at different times. So you want to make sure that you write them out and that it's clear to people, what it is. And you can't leave out steps when you're doing this because they can't read your mind, right? So you have to have it step by step by step by step. And then you have it so where it's filed away, and then every time you need it, you just pull it out and you give it to your people. So not having a system can make it really chaotic. And I know this is really hard if you're just starting out because you don't know maybe what your systems are yet. And I can remember when I first started, oh my God. I actually have a client now who was my first web designer person, whatever, and she helped me so much. But at the time, I can remember I drove her crazy, and it was stressful because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was sort of depending on her to just do her job, and that can also be really difficult when you're trying to outsource to people if you don't know how to do something and you're trying to get somebody where you're trying to train them and you don't know how to do it. So in those cases, you either do need to spend the money to find somebody who really does know what they're doing, so you're actually learning it from them, or you go and find instructions on how to do it and you teach yourself how to do it first, which I know can be not fun, especially if you're like me, a creative person, you don't want to do that. But you've got to find a way to make it work, basically, one way or the other. And then the next one is you don't communicate well what it is you want. So if you can't, the more information that you can give someone, the easier it's going to be for them to follow what it is you want them to do, and the less time you're going to have with that, back and forth trying to figure stuff out. So you want to get to the point where you're communicating well what it is you want done, and also to ask the person, okay, this is what I said, say it back to me, and do you understand what it is I want? And the more that you can do that as well, the better understood you're going to be, the easier it's going to be. Okay. And then the next one is you don't plan. So again, it's last minute and it's chaotic. Hi, Rose. So when you don't plan and you're doing things last minute, then it can become really chaotic. And what happens when it becomes really chaotic is you can burn your people out. And I know because I've done that too. Again, way more in the beginning when I didn't know what I was doing and I was kind of dependent on them. But you want to be careful about that. So you want to try to plan as much as you can in advance so people know, what's coming up and what they're going to need to do, and they have plenty of time to do it, because when they don't have plenty of time to do it, then, you're snapping at the last minute and they're feeling frustrated, and that can lead to people, quitting. And so that's not a good thing to do. So, as I was saying, number one was you want to avoid getting sued. And the way to do that is by making sure that you put everything in writing and it's really clear, what the expectations are and what the person can expect and what you expect from them. Number two is not setting boundaries. So, when you're hiring somebody, make sure you ask them, what hours do they want to work? How can you reach them? When can you reach them? Are there any times that, you absolutely can't reach them? Are they available on holidays and weekends if that's something that's important to you? So just make sure that you know what their boundaries are, so you know that you're not crossing them, so you don't upset anybody and nobody feels like they're being taken advantage of. Number three, okay, you train somebody and they decide that it's not for them. So, don't try to train people where it's not what they love to do, where it's not their superpower, where it's not fun for them, because they're just going to quit on you and you're going to be frustrated and feel pissed off. So you don't want to do that. Next is thinking you don't have the money to outsource, but if you are outsourcing, you're possibly outsourcing on the wrong things. So you want to make sure you start outsourcing on things that can help you make more money, if at all possible. And you want people who enjoy doing that task. And, you can have more than one person If one person likes doing one piece of it, another person likes doing another piece of it, I would rather have different people doing what they love than one person trying to do everything. Because it just doesn't work when people don't like what they're doing, period. Okay? Doesn't work. Next, they aren't available to speak on the phone. For me personally, I don't like it when I can't talk to people on the phone. So in general, I like to hire people that I can talk to. I think it's easier to communicate. I think things can get lost in email communication and misinterpreted, and so I just prefer that. I feel like things get done faster that way. But that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I'm just saying, for me, that's just something to consider. And four, when you're working with people that are on the other side of the world, they're in different time zones, that can be a hassle. You're trying to do something at a certain time and they're sleeping, and then they're available and you're too tired, so, that can be a drag. You don't have systems in place, so it becomes chaotic. That's on you. You need to get your systems in place. So everything that you're going to do, you want to write it down. Everything that you don't want to do anymore, you want to write it down, and then you want to create the systems for that so that other people can just follow it. You don't communicate well what you want. You've got to learn to communicate and ask, did you understand what I said? And, repeat it back to me and make sure you're on the same page before you move forward, because that will eliminate a lot of hassle. And then last but not least, you don't plan. So again, it's last minute, it's chaotic, and they're frustrated, you're frustrated, and then they want to quit, and then you're left, holding the bag. So those are my 10 things that you want, the 10 pitfalls of outsourcing. And I hope that you find these useful, and I definitely want to encourage you to outsource. Outsourcing is really important. Being a solopreneur does not work. I mean, you need other people to take the, to take some of the jobs off of you. It's crazy to try to do everything yourself. You wouldn't try to do that in any other kind of business, and you shouldn't try to do it in an internet business either. So make sure that you do that. Now, the reason I'm thinking about outsourcing right now is because I'm in Jeff Hunter's 14-day Business Freedom Challenge right now. It's free, and I want to encourage you to join us. If you're feeling like your business is just not growing as fast as it could, if you're feeling frustrated that you're doing a lot of jobs that you really don't want to be doing and you'd rather be doing something else in your business, then it's time, to really learn how to handle this. So Jeff is the best. I love him. We've been working together for about 4 years now. This is free, and it's fun, and only takes a few minutes every day, and you can catch up really fast. So if you want to join us, it's http://ellenlikes.com/freedom challenge. ellenlikes.com/freedom challenge. So I hope I'll see you in there, but either way, I hope you've gotten some good insights into how to get better at outsourcing, and I'd love to hear your comments. So that's it. Bye-bye.